This is my local game store and they're hosting a Pauper tournament, my favorite magic format. And today I'm playing a mono red burn list. It kills you very fast. So let's head inside and let's get some games going. I want to win this tournament. Hello, Mr. Shop owner, I'm here now. It's the first game of the day and it's my first tournament game with this burn deck. If you look at my starting hand, you can see I have 2 sneaky snackers and a faithless looting. You could not ask for a better hand. What I know about this deck so far is it's fast. It can take 20 life off of my opponent in the blink of an eye. We discard 2 sneaky snackers to a faithless looting. Now a sneaky snacker is very special. It says when you draw your 3rd card each turn, you may return this from your graveyard to the battlefield tab. We're going to abuse this right away. My opponent didn't have a turn 2 play, so I will play Grab the Prize. For the cost of discarding a card, I may draw 2 cards, and since I also drew my draw step, that means I'm drawing the 3rd card for my turn. So both of those sneaky snackers will enter the battlefield tab. That's 2 2/1 flyers on turn 2. This is silly good. My opponent had a cast down in the opening hand and could kill one of the fairies, but if I have another spell that draws 2, I'm just gonna get it back right away. So they have to go look for something that can salvage this game now. And what they do is they play a blood fountain to generate a blood token, and this way they can possibly dig further in their deck if they don't have anything. They probably need... I actually don't know what they need. I know what I need, and what I need is to bonk with the fairies down to 16, and then play Gotta Snipe. This goblin should make you fear. Whenever I play an instant sorcery, it deals 2 damage to my opponent. This makes Lightning Bolt do 5 damage. I badly regret saying bonk the fairies. My opponent discards a cast down to the blood token to draw a card. I don't know what they're looking for if it's not a removal spell for Gotta Snipe, but I hope they get it, because this game is close to over. My opponent plays an Echo Wellspring, drawing another card, and they're out of mana for the turn, so I guess they have to hope they survive a turn, but that seems very unlikely. I attack for 6. Bringing my opponent down to 10. And now it's burn time. We play Chain Lightning, trigger Gotta Snipe for 2, deal 3 with the Chain Lightning. Lightning Bolt, trigger Gotta Snipe, deal 2 damage, 3 damage, that's 10 damage, and we win. It's game 2, and I have a hand. If it makes it to turn 4, it will deal so much damage. If we assume my Gotta Snipe and my Thermo Alchemist survives. My opponent has sideboarded in Weather the Storm, which would be really good, especially if I'm casting a lot of spells in one turn. They also still have a removal spell, which could slow my damage from this Thermo Alchemist down by a lot. They do spend a lot of time thinking about their play this turn, so I think a part of them wants to kill my Thermo Alchemist and slow my damage down. But on the other hand, they have a refurbished Familiar in hand, so they would like to get some artifacts into play that for free, and try and slow me down by making me discard cards. If I discard cards, that's just damage I can't throw at you. So they play an Echo Wellspring, drawing a card. That way, next turn, their refurbished Familiar will likely just cost 1. Thermo Alchemist can tap to deal 1 damage, and whenever I play an instant or sorcery, it untaps. That means every burn spell I do technically does an extra damage, which I will demonstrate by playing Grab the Prize. Last time I played it, I discarded a land, but it says if the land you discarded to it is an instant or sorcery, it does 2 damage. I did the whole thing a bit weird about discarding a card as a cost, when to untap my Thermo Alchemist, and when I should tap it again, and when I should draw the cards. Everything was done out of order, but it does another damage. My opponent is down to 16. I'm going to do these triggers wrong a lot. I find the land and I play it down. Now this is very important. I have a Faithless Looting in hand I could play, but I also drew a Fiery Temper, which would be good with it. I'll show you in a second. But for now I choose that it's fine to just leave this mana unused. And then next turn I can have a play that's more valuable and does more damage than if I Faithless Looted it now, just to improve my hand a bit. We could see in our opponent's hand that he had both a Weather the Storm and a Cast Down. Both of these could slow my damage down a whole bunch. So it's a difficult turn for them. There's 16 health, and they have to consider, would they die if I can just deal 16 damage out of nowhere? My opponent chooses to play another Echo Wellspring. Come on, do it. My opponent now plays the Refurbished Familiar. It's a 2/1 flyer that gets cheaper for every artifact in play, so they can play it for 1 mana. It makes me discard a card. I have that Fiery Temper, and I can play it for its Madness cost when it gets discard, which is 1 mana for 3 damage. And it also untaps my Thermo Alchemist, which is another 1 damage I deal to them. Keeping that 1 mana open was very smart, but it was completely accidental and not a plan. And it's my turn, which means Thermo Alchemist gets to deal 1 damage to my opponent. Because my opponent enabled my madness, they're down to 11 life. And they have no interaction up. They can't play Cast Down on my Gutter Snipe, and they can't cast Wither the Storm to gain life back. So I can just go for it. I play the Gutter Snipe from before, and then I play Faithless Losing, triggering Gutter Snipe. I draw 2 cards and discard 2. There's also a trigger on tapping my Thermo Alchemist. So another 1 damage to you. And now it begins. We sacrifice 2 lands to play Fire Blast. And with Gutter Snipe and Thermo Alchemist, that's 7 damage to the face. Then we do it again. And we win. Yay! My second opponent played a Dredge deck. They didn't want to be recorded, but I won 2-1. I lost the first one by mulling to 4, and I won the other 2 by my opponent mana screwing. So the deck still works. For game 3, I have a kind of awkward starting hand with 3 Gutter Snipes, but I know it's fine, because I know my opponent's playing Elves. One of the good things about finishing games fast is you get to go around the tournament and see what everyone else is playing. But my opponent also knows I'm playing Burn, because they can't shut up about my deck. My opponent plays Land Grant, which is free if you have no lands in hand. It finds a forest in your deck and puts it into your hand. Because my opponent showed their hand to me, I make a joke about them playing Elves of Deep Shadow over the Llanowar Elf, and they do so. I guess that's one of the downsides of playing with an open hand. I play a mountain and pass the turn. My opponent plays Roostseek, the Omen side of Saco Wildling. Roostseek is a silly name for a spell. You can see me wanting to read the card, but that's because I remember it gaining life, and I have to make sure how much life this card can gain, because, you know, life gain is the enemy. My opponent finds the Swamp, the only swamp in their deck. I didn't know this at the time, but they only play 5 lands to activate a card called Balustrade Spy. For now, they tap their Elves of the Deep Shadow, losing 1 life, to cast Priest of Titania, which can tap for 1 green for each elf in play. I will play my Grab the Prize, discarding a Gutter Snipe. I have 3 Gutter Snipes in hand, so I feel like it's fine to get rid of one. However, they are playing black, and I don't know why yet, so I could assume they have removal spells for my Gutter Snipe. In that case, having 3 might have been good. But for now, we deal 2 damage to the opponent. For a second, I want to talk about how good Grab the Prize is. It discards 1 card and draws 2, so it goes even in card advantage, but if the card you discard has Madness or Flashback, you're going up in card advantage and dealing damage to your opponent, and improving the quality of your hand. My opponent plays a Llanowar Elf. They have a lot of mana now. The priest taps for 3. They lose another life to the Elves of Deep Shadow to play Sylvan Ranger. This allows them to find a basic land in their deck and put it into their hand. You know what? This deck shuffles a whole lot. It's almost like playing Commander Modern. My opponent swings for 2. That Sylvan Ranger shouldn't be able to attack. It should have Summoning Sickness, but I didn't catch it either, and it's not relevant for the match, so that's fine. My opponent has 9 mana available, 10 next turn. I have 3, but that's enough for Gutter Snipe! That's all I'll do on my turn. With a Gutter Snipe in play and a handful of cards, my opponent has to feel some sort of pressure towards their life total, so they have to find a way to either start killing me fast, and those 1/1s won't cut it, or gain some life fast. Luckily, they have just they play. First, another Priest of Titania, and then they tap the old one for 5 mana, and 1 from the Swamp or Forest, I can't tell, and play Generous End.
And I'll offer you a nice ent in these trying times.
Generous End is a 5/7 with reach that creates a food when it comes into play, meaning it's both a clock and it gains life, exactly what my opponent needed right now. A food is an artifact you can sacrifice for 2 mana to gain 3 life. I play a mountain, and then I do the one thing I shouldn't do with this deck. I start counting. What I should do is just sling my spells, hope it's enough. My opponent has 16 life, but the food effectively puts them at 19. So even with Gutter Snipe, it's gonna be hard to kill them this turn. I play a Grab the Prize, discarding a Sneaky Snacker, dealing 2 damage, and another 2 from the Gutter Snipe. Normally this would be really good because I get the Sneaky Snacker back, but the Generous End has reach, so it can't even get in there. It was still 2 mana, draw 2, deal 4, so I'm not that upset. And the Sneaky Snacker can attack if the Generous End attacks, so it's still some form of pressure, as they can attack with the only high power creature, if they want to avoid the damage from the Sneaky Snacker. So we are applying a lot of pressure and a lot of damage now, and perhaps we can kill our opponent. We play Chain Lightning, dealing 2 from the Gutter Snipe and 3 from, well, the spell. We play a Lava Dart, triggering the Gutter Snipe for 2 damage. Lava Dart deals 1. It also has flashback, so we can do it again. Our opponent therefore eats their food, but they lose a life from the Elves of Deep Shadow while doing it. They do it while the Lava Dart is on the stack. That way I can't kill them by flashbacking the Lava Dart. The Lava Dart's flashback cost is sacrificing a mountain, so I can still cast it if I want to. I count how many elves they have, 5, because they might be able to cast some sort of buff all my creatures for 1 turn spell, meaning they could deal 15 damage with the elves and 5 with the Generous End. But if I can use the Lava Dart to kill one in response and then block the Generous Elf with Gutter Snipe, I will still survive an attack. So I just pass the turn, hope to get my turn again, and then burn them out. My opponent is considering for a long time what to do. Now, they don't have the buff all their elf spell, I was told after the game, but what they do have is an attack for 5. I just take it. I don't think they can kill me outside of the attack step with damage. So the question now is, how much life can they gain to survive another turn of me flinging spells at their face? They tap the Titanic Priest and play another Generous Elf, gaining another food. This both allow them to block my Sneaky Snacker still, and gains them another 3 life if they need it. I still have a Lava Dart in the graveyard to flashback, and all I've been playing this game is Grab the Prize, so I'm not out of cards. And why stop a good streak? I play another Grab the Prize, discarding a Gutter Snipe. My Gutter Snipe triggers, and there's 2 damage on this stack. My opponent has to eat the food, gain another 3 life, and go to 9. Then they take 2 from Gutter Snipe and 2 from the Grab the Prize. They have to eat before, just in case I can respond with another burn spell when they eat the food. My opponent only has 1 card left in hand, so unless that's some sort of instant healing, I just need 1 spell to kill them, and I have my Lava Dart, so I can play it, flashback the other one, triggering Gutter Snipe 3 times. That's a total of 9 damage, and they concede. My opponent keeps a hand with 3 land grants and very few creatures. Meanwhile, I have a bunch of small removals and none of the creatures I need to like buff them to do more damage. So both our hands are kind of awkward, but the good thing is because I know what's in my opponent's hand, I can plan a strategy already. My opponent only have 2 creatures that actually produce mana, and they both die to a Lava Dart. And Lava Dart can be flashed back later, so I don't have to wait to get a Gutter Snipe or something. I can just start blasting those, and they can never ever get the mana to cast the Generous End. My opponent had to cast 2 land grants this turn and had to find 2 lands. And because there's only 5 lands in the whole deck, it does take a while to search them out. And with all the information I've been given already, I feel like this game is already very good for me. I play a mountain and I pass the turn back to my opponent. I could shoot that Fyndhorn Elf right away with a Lava Dart, but they can't ramp into anything I'm afraid of this turn, so I'm just gonna let them keep it. That way maybe they play the Priest of Titania already and I can just kill both of them. And then eventually I'll draw either Thermo Alchemist or Gutter Snipe and I can win. My opponent plays Healer of the Glade, gaining 3 life, which is a problem. It puts me further away from killing them, and I don't have any big damage spells or ways to increase my damage right now. And my opponent's going to play the 3rd land grant of this game, and I'm just gonna skip past all the shuffling. My opponent's played most of the cards in their hand, and they're going to be playing their Priest of Titania now. That means they've played out almost everything, and the only payoff they have for it is a Generous Elf. So I kill the Priest of Titania, that way they can't play the only threat in a good while still, and I have the time to find what I need to win. To find what I need to win, I'm gonna play a Faithless Looting, draw 2, discard 2. I get to discard a Sneaky Snacker and a Fiery Temper, for which I pay the Madness cost of it. And I do decide to shoot the Fyndhorn Elf, since my spell came out of a discard, and I'm trading up in card advantage by doing it. Which isn't something I thought I would be doing with this deck. My opponent's gonna play a Sago Wildling once again for the Omen cost to find a Swamp and put into their hand. Now, the reason my opponent only plays 5 lands is because of a card named Balustrade Spy. This creature is a 2/3 flyer for 4 mana, but its effect is that target player reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a land and put all those cards into the graveyard. So if you have no lands in your library, you put your entire library into your graveyard. That's why my opponent keeps searching out their lands, because when their whole library is in their graveyard, they have a combo that kills me. They will play Dread Return for a flashback cost of sacrificing 3 creatures to bring Lolith Giant into play, which deals 1 damage for each creature in their graveyard to me, killing me instantly. Our opponent is done shuffling and plays a Curian Ranger. Now, Curian Ranger doesn't make any mana on its own, so I'm gonna let that one live. I don't mind taking 1 damage from either that or this Healer of the Glade. As long as they're just hitting for 2, I'm gonna be fine. On my turn, I choose to play a Faithless Looting. Drawing 2 cards will trigger the Sneaky Snagger in my graveyard. And I will also discard both another Sneaky Snagger and another Fiery Temper I can pay the Madness cost for. This is where I have to answer the question of, am I afraid of the threats on board? Or should I just start burning my opponent down? And I choose to start burning my opponent down because I can out-damage this. So far, all my deck's done is throw spells on my opponent's face and attack with Sneaky Snaggers. This time I've actually strategized enough to want to kill some creatures to buy myself time, which is really me learning the deck and figuring out how versatile it is by having all these like draw 2, discard 2 spells. My opponent plays another Curian Ranger and attacks for 2. By buying time and drawing cards, by turn 3 I've still found 1 Thermo Alchemist I can play to increase the power of all my burn spells and the 1 Lava Dart in my graveyard. And then Sneaky Snagger gets in there for 2. I still have 18 damage to deal, so I'm not gonna play any more burn spells because I don't want to play them unless I can get a benefit from the Thermo Alchemist untapping and doing more damage. My opponent decides to Forest Cycle their Generous End. They have no cards in hand now, so they're really banking on top-decking a Balustrade Spy to win the game for them now. They have all their lands in play, so they just need to find a way to draw the Balustrade Spy to win the game. Also, I don't know about the Balustrade Spy. I never heard about it before. Well, I had heard about it, but I didn't know how it worked before today. So, I'm not playing around it. If I killed one of those creatures, or 2 of them actually, the combo would still fail, because they wouldn't have enough creatures to pay for the flashback cost of Dread Return. My opponent plays the last land and plays a Priest of Titania. I'm not afraid anymore. There's no Generous Elf to gain life or beat me down. And sure, they'll swing in for 3 now, but I can block 1 and only take 2. If my opponent had drawn the Balustrade Spy and played it, I would have 1 chance with the trigger on the stack to shoot 2 creatures with a Lava Dart and a Lightning Bolt from my hand. But I wouldn't know to do that and I would lose. So instead, we live in a world where I have to count to 18. 1. Cast Grab the Prize, discarding Lava Dart, trigger the Alchemist, draw 2, grab the prize damage, 3, attack for 2, 5, tap Alchemist, 6, play a Lightning Bolt, trigger Alchemist, 9, we're halfway there, use Alchemist, 10, then we play a Chain Lightning, 13, use Alchemist, trigger way too late, 14, we have 2 Lava Darts in the graveyard we're gonna cast. When we cast them, we trigger Alchemist, 15, then the Lava Dart, 16, trigger Alchemist with Lava Dart, 17, and then the Lava Dart, 18. And we counted to 18. Wow. Good game, though. I don't know what threats my opponents plays, if they have the standard elf threats, such as Timberwatch Elf and You Meet in a Tavern, but I didn't see any of those, and it was also really lucky that they never drew Balustrade Elf, because Balustrade Spy, or I could have lost to that. So far, we've thrown our deck at 3 people and 3 people have died. It's a good day. I'm 3-0 in the tournament, and so far just taking my deck and throwing it at my opponent's face and hoping they die have worked out really well. We're playing against another Yunt Wildfire deck, and last time we killed them so fast that they didn't actually get to play any spells. I play my turn 2 Thermo Alchemist. Buffing all my spells so early in the game means I'm presenting a lot of damage already. Oh, that's Cleansing Wildfire! This card is a powerhouse. It destroys target land, then that land's controller finds a land in the deck and puts it into the battlefield tapped, and then you draw a card. But the land you shoot is your own and it's indestructible, so it just rams you and draws you a card. My turn. Alchemist go pew. And now we're gonna do it. We're gonna play Grab the Prize. So many things are gonna happen. We discard a Sneaky Snack as the additional cost, therefore dealing 2 damage, but before that, Alchemist triggers to untap and goes pew, followed by Grab the Prize. Now this is impressive. I forget to draw the 2 cards from Grab the Prize, but I do remember the trigger on the Sneaky Snacker to bring it back. That's kind of silly. I am wondering why I have so few cards in hand right now. But I don't have time to think, I only have time to do damage. Cast Lava Dart, trigger Alchemist, Lava Dart damages, tap Alchemist for 1 more damage. It's my opponent's turn. As they untap, I start realizing I only have 2 cards left in hand, and I ask my opponent, did I draw for my Grab the Prize? And then for me, they didn't really want to say, because it felt kind of like insulting me to say, did you forget to draw from your spell? And you can see, I kind of have to count out all the cards I've played and have, and then, mix it up with 7 plus my amount of draws, and we agree I did forget to draw, so I draw 2 now from my Grab the Prize. This is embarrassing. I am a good Magic player. In my first round, I also played Unit Wildfire, and they didn't kill any of my creatures, which I think was a mistake. My opponent here then realizes, that Alchemist does a lot of damage. He has to get rid of it. He's at 14. And it buffs all my spells for 1, so he kills it. He also plays a whatever the name of this card is. It can sacrifice an artifact to deal 1 damage to each creature without flying. So it's sort of a preemptive way to kill my Gutter Snipes and my Thermo Alchemist, which is really good to avoid death. My Sneaky Snacker dealt 2 damage while I was rending. I really want to stick a Gutter Snipe to the board, but as long as the thing is in play, my opponent can sacrifice 2 of their lands to kill it, and I don't want that. So I add 3 mana to my mana pool, sacrifice a mountain to play Lava Dart targeting the Shaman, and then I use the mana from my pool to cast Gutter Snipe, never giving my opponent a chance to activate the Shaman, which would have been a really cool play if I didn't just have a mountain I didn't need for anything else. My opponent has no more removal spells, and there's a Gutter Snipe on the board. I think they know it's very unlikely they'll survive another turn, but they have no way to gain life, so the best they can do is just put on the pressure and hope somehow I don't have enough damage to kill them next turn. I do think they know that's far-fetched, but you gotta play to your outs. They play a Withering Chrysalis, but I don't want to talk about what it does right now because it's just gonna be a big chunky blocker. It does have reach, so it can stop my fairy from attacking. So they are trying to save a little bit of life. Panic Wellspring, and I love this card. It draws 1 card when it enters and 1 when it leaves. It's a setup card, but it takes so long to get active against my deck that kills you by turn 4. So I love seeing my opponent play it. I might regret those words next game. Now I tap 2 for the not Grab the Prize, but Highway Robbery. Trigger Gutter Snipe. It doesn't deal damage, but instead of having to discard, I can sacrifice a land instead. But I do want to discard my Sneaky Snacker so I can get it into play. When you discard Sneaky Snacker to either Grab the Prize or Highway Robbery, it draws after discarding, so it brings them back right away, unlike Faithless Looting. Then I play a Lava Dart, triggering Gutter Snipe, then Lava Dart deals 1 damage. My opponent started this turn at 12, is at 7 now. You know what that means when I have a Gutter Snipe. We flashback Lava Dart, trigger Gutter Snipe, deal 1 damage, then we sacrifice 2 lands to play Fire Blast, triggering Gutter Snipe, and that's way too much damage. So far my deck has performed really well. I'm still getting to know it. Remembering the triggers in the correct order is the only challenge I'm facing. This isn't a deck of high skill in many plays. This is a deck that asks your opponent a question. Can you survive this? But we're gonna learn now that there are things to think about when you play this deck, when the opponent can answer the questions. I forgot to record the hands for this game, so we're gonna have to go on an adventure here and see what happens. I do believe it was a 1 land hand for me, but since I have the Faithless Looting, I was thinking, I'll get there. And I just got a Sneaky Snacker and the Chain Lightning, and I haven't found the land I can spoil right now, so we are kind of in trouble. But sometimes you just have to believe in your deck and believe it wants good things for you. My opponent plays an Echo Wellspring, drawing a card. Now, I should have probably mulliganed this match, But between having a Faithless looting 1 land, getting a Sneaky Snacker into the graveyard, if I could just get that second land in 4 draws, I could get a Sneaky Snacker on turn 2 because I have grabbed the prize in hand. I don't think you should keep a 1-lander with this deck, but you can. It's just risky, as we're going to see here. But with all the draw spells and cycle spells, it's usually okay. It wasn't this time. I didn't get my land, and it's my opponent's 3rd turn. And they play Duress. I have to reveal my hand, they pick a non-land non-creature from it, and I have to discard it, which is any card in my hand, oh my god. But at least now we get to see what I'm sitting on. So if I had gotten that second land, I could have played a grab the prize right away, drawn even more, and found a 3rd land too, and if I didn't, I still had another grab the prize. So it's unfortunate we didn't get a second land, but it could have been worse. My opponent took the grab the prize. They couldn't take the gutter snipe, so that's probably the best pick they could take. I bolt my opponent in the end step because I have so many cards in hand and no way to get rid of them, so I might as well just start blasting. I haven't really talked about sideboards because I forgot to record them, but here we see one of my sideboard cards, Smash to Smithereens. It destroys target artifact and then deals 3 damage to that artifact's controller. Here I destroy a land. I think this might have been a misplay. It would have been a really good play if I wasn't already behind on mana and just need to catch up. This would have been much better if I was on the play, had hit both my lands and set them back to 1 land. My opponent plays Fanatical Offering, sacrificing the Echo Wellspring. They draw 2 from the Offering and 1 from the Echo Wellspring, leaving the battlefield. They also get a map token. This is a lot of card advantage and a strong staple in Pauper. Let's not talk about Deadly Dispute. My opponent plays a tapped land and passes the turn. I should have played this grab the prize I play now last turn, so I could have had a fairy in play and pressure more damage. I don't think keeping them on 2 mana instead of 3 was super important for me. But here is the grab the prize. I discard a Fiery Temper that I can't Madness and deal 2 damage. This is why I waited a turn on the grab the prize. If I'd drawn a land, I could have Madnessed that Fiery Temper doing 3 more damage. But that was very unlikely. I get my fairy back at least. My opponent plays another Fanatical Offering, sacrificing the map they made with the last one, and draws 2 cards. Then they play a Cleansing Wildfire. Oh, enough of that. My opponent finds another land to put into play and draws a card. This means even though I destroyed one of their lands, I only have 2, and they're gonna have 5 when they play their land for turn as well. So this is terrible. They're at 12, and if I had 3 mana earlier, I could probably just burn them out really quickly. But since I have no Gutter Sniper Alchemist, it's gonna be hard to murder them. Attack for 2. I have them down to 10. If I had a Gutter Sniper on Alchemist, I could probably just kill them right now. I do want to lower their life total, so I cast a Chain Lightning. It's down to 7. And then a Lava Dart, putting them to 6. My opponents play very well. Seeing that I'm low on mana, they've instead just built up their hand and built up their board full of mana, instead of trying to gain life or kill my threats, because even the Fire Blast in my hand can't kill them, and sacrificing both my mountains right now, well, I'd have no mana left. They cast down my Sneaky Snacker. They are at 6, so they do have to remove my threats, and they also do have to gain some life while I'm tapped out. If they try to gain the life in response to me killing them, they could be Fire Blasted out or something. So they play their Pulse of Murasa now, tapping out, gaining 6 life, knowing that I probably can't do 12 damage because I couldn't last turn. I also just realized that Pulse of Murasa needs a land or creature as a target, and I put a land in their graveyard, so I could have played around this by not destroying that land turn 2. That was such a bad play, I see now. But we learn. They play a tapped land, and then they pass the turn. We did it. We got the 3rd mountain! Let's go! We're unstoppable now. They still have 12 life though. I play a Highway Robbery, which would be much better if I could sacrifice one of my lands, or if I had a Madness card, but at least I get to discard a Sneaky Snacker and get 2 of them into play when I draw off the Highway Robbery. Now I have to make a decision. I can use my Bolt so my fairies are lethal with a Lava Dart next turn, or I can save it till in a couple of turns if I get to have a Gutter Snipe active. I decide to Bolt now, as the other seems less likely, but I think this is the wrong choice. My opponent still has a lot of healing, and I need that damage from the Gutter Sniper the Alchemist. Right now I'm thinking I can kill them before they heal more, but with 6 mana opens, and having drawn, 5 extra cards, they're gonna have things. They're gonna have this Lembus, which can scry 1 and draw a card, and then it's also food, so you can sacrifice it for 2 mana to gain 3 life. They're not going to do that right now, because they want to hold mana open for removal spells, or other healing spells if they need them. So seeing this healing, I get a little nervous. I have to find out whether I want to go all in and kill them. But seeing as my opponent has no pressure to kill me, I go for it. We swing for 4. And then I finally get to do it. I get to cast my good old gutter snipe. The problem is, I've used so many of my burn spells without triggering gutter snipe. And my opponent hasn't died from it yet. So this gutter snipe isn't as scary as it would. It's still a 2-2 attacker as well though. Now let's talk about sideboard again. I know my opponent has Weather the Storm in their deck, which means I have to constantly think each burn spell I play will make Weather the Storm gain 3 more life. So I have to find a way to kill them with as few spells as possible in a turn. Or I have to get them low enough that I kill them, they use Weather the Storm, and I use another burn spell to kill them in response. That's the goal now. My opponent plays an artifact land and then plays a refurbished familiar, making me discard a card. This is very bad. I'm running very low on burn spells at this point. I discard a Chain Lightning. I keep my Fire Blast in hand because I know that's gonna need to be a finisher if I want to win this game. They play Cast Down on my Gutter Snipe. This is my one chance to trigger it with my Fire Blast. That's 6 damage. The next turn I could deal 4 more with my fairies. That would be 10. They would have to have 3 more life gain other than their Lembas right now if they wanted to survive a swing for my fairies. So maybe I should have gone all on here and just assumed they had no more healing. But I kept assuming they would have Weather the Storm. I would need to respond to it. That's not even counting the refurbished familiar can fly and can actually block one of my fairies. So this is looking very bad if my opponent has any more healing in their hand at least. It's my turn. I draw. I attack with both my fairies. They block refurbished familiar and I deal 2 damage in the air. I have them down to 3 life now and I have a Fire Blast in hand. So I play my Chain Lightning. And of course in response they eat their Lembas, gaining 3 life. I think in response to that I had to Fire Blast them. Because that's the only way I kill them. I need to force them to have more answers. But instead I think I can do it next turn. But that's just gonna give them another draw. In a way, Chain Lightning does 3, putting them to 3. My opponent untaps, draws for turn, and plays an Ichor Wellspring. They draw a card off the Ichor Wellspring. And then they play the second Pulse of Morasa, targeting the refurbished familiar. And I have to decide whether I want to try and kill them now, before they gain those life. But I'm sure they have Weather the Storm in hand for some reason. But honestly, I do not think I can recover from them having 9 life. And what I also don't realize is that refurbished familiar is going to discard one of my cards. And they can actually just play the Storm anyway, gaining life off of all the spells they've played this turn. I keep thinking of Weather the Storm as something you play in response to me playing burn spells to gain life off of the Storm effect. They play the refurbished familiar. I discard this Gutter Snipe with extreme lens glare. Then they play a Toxin Analysis on the refurbished familiar. It's not important what it does. What's important right now, it's a 1 mana spell. And they gain a clue. And then they finally do. They play Weather the Storm. It gains you 3 life. Plus 3 more for every spell played this turn. That's 15. Fuck! I do keep playing the game. I can cast my Faithless Looting from the graveyard. If I can draw a Gutter Snipe, I can play all my flashback spells. But I'm gonna speed the game up because as the game goes on, I realize I have 1 card in hand. And they probably have 3 more Weather the Storms in their deck and 2 more Pulse of Morasa. And I know they have more Lembas. It's too late for me to win now. And I realize that at the end, and I concede this match. What I can learn from the last game is I didn't read my hand right. It didn't have anything to boost my spells, and it didn't go all in enough. If I don't have a Gutter Snipe, I can't just sit around and wait too long. Also, I need more lands than I thought. This hand isn't great either. But I can improve it by playing a Faithless Looting, drawing 2 and discarding 2. I'm going to get rid of a Fire Blast and a Chain Lightning. Both of these are just burn spells I can throw at my opponent, but without a Gutter Snipe or a Thermo Alchemist, they're unlikely to go all the way, especially now that I know how much healing is in my opponent's deck. It's also why I won't just throw chain lightnings and lightning bolts at them right away. I want to find that gutter snipe, play it, and then get value out of it. My opponent plays an Ichor Wellspring, so they're setting up to draw a bunch of cards next turn, likely with a Fanatical Offering or something. Me, I draw a land, and I find it, my good old gutter snipe! This is great. I can do 20 damage with a gutter snipe on turn 4, I think, if I'm lucky. Especially if they don't have a blocker. Hopefully it doesn't get removed. My opponent immediately kills it, and, you know, that's the correct response, but it does make me sad. I don't have any other Thermo Alchemists or gutter snipes in my hand, so we're gonna have to go digging again. Luckily, I can just flash back my Faithless Looting to go look for something better. That way, I'm also using the best value out of my Faithless Looting so far. I want to discard 2 lands here, and that's why I didn't play Grab the Prize, because if I discard a land to grab the prize, I rob myself of 2 damage I might need later. My opponent plays an Fanatical Offering on their Ichor Wellspring and draw 3 cards for their turn. They find their land drop, and then they pass the turn to me. I'm still looking for a Gutter Sniper or Thermo Alchemist. I don't have one in hand. So for this turn, I will play a Grab the Prize, discarding a Fiery Temper to it, and playing the Fiery Temper for the Madness Cause, dealing 2 with Grab the Prize and 3 with the Fiery Temper. Even though I still don't have a Gutter Snipe or a Thermo Alchemist, this is a great turn because it's 5 damage without spending any cards, as I also draw 2 from the Grab the Prize. So I still have a hand full of burn spells, and the moment I get a Gutter Snipe, they're all coming right at my opponent. Nothing can stop me. Oh. They tap 1 black, but they seem to be... yeah, they play a Refurbished Familiar. That means my hand is suddenly less stacked with burn. I discard a Lava Dart, so it's not so bad. I can reflect. Oh, another one. That's great. Okay. We'll discard another Lava Dart then. They can still be played for Duress. Okay, I guess I just won't have a hand this game. That's fine, it's okay. I'm so screwed. They take my Grab the Prize, which is my only draw spells, leaving me with 10 points of burn damage, and they have 15 life. It's okay. If I draw a... oh, that's Weather the Storm. Refurbished Familiar has affinity for artifacts, so it can get as low as costing 1 black mana, and the rest only also costs 1. So for 5 mana, they can gain 12 life, bringing them to a total of 27. I hadn't thought about how good Storm is with affinity cards. That's kind of, I would say funny, but it's really rough. And since I have no draw spells or no Gutter Snipes or Thermo Alchemists left, all I can do is just pass the turn holding 3 mana open. I don't know how I win this game from now on. They play a Fanatical Offering, sacrificing the map, gaining a new map, and drawing 2 cards. Then they're gonna attack me with the Refurbished Familiars, putting me down to 16. And at this point, the only reason I keep playing this match because it's a best of 3 in a tournament setting with prizes, and I do want to win the whole tournament. Normally, this might be a conceding time, but if I can win, I want to play it out and do it. I don't think there are any winning lines from here, however. My opponent also plays a Writhing Chrysalis, which is a lot of pressure for my opponent suddenly, and I'm the one who's staring down death. You blinked and you missed my turn. I played a land and passed. There's no point in just trying to burn my opponent out. I might need those burn spells for staying alive. Writhing Chrysalis is 2/3 reach creature. When it comes into play, it makes 2 Eldrazi spawn tokens. Whenever you sacrifice one of those, you put a +1/+1 counter on Writhing Chrysalis. So they use Eviscerator's Insight to sacrifice one of the Eldrazi spawn tokens and draw 2 cards, and therefore they also get a +1/+1 counter on the Writhing Chrysalis. And they also just sack the other one for mana, making the 2/3 a 4/5. And then they have a Nihil Spellbomb, and get rid of my flashback cards like Lava Dart and Faithless Looting. My opponent attacks for a small 8, bringing me to 8. Next, my opponent will play a Cleansing Wildfire. We're not doing the bit, drawing a card and ramping themselves. In a situation like this, you really have to think, how do I win? I need Goblin Guide, then I need my opponent to not use Nihil Spellbomb so I can flashback all of my Lava Darts, and possibly my Faithless Looting. And then I will need to have enough burn in hand to kill them after that. This is extremely unlikely. I do not think my opponent will mess up, but at this point, that's all I can hope for. We find a way forward, playing Grab the Prize, discarding a Sneaky Snagger, dealing 2 damage, and then drawing 2, triggering the Sneaky Snagger to return to the battlefield. My opponent does see the trigger, but doesn't use the Nihil Spellbomb in response to exile from my graveyard, so I get my Sneaky Snagger back. Actually, it seems I forgot the trigger too right now, so I'm playing a Faithless Looting to improve my hand. And it is my opponent that reminds me of the trigger, which is, I think we both got confused for a second. So, luckily, it means I get my creature back before they can use the Nihil Spellbomb for some reason. I assume it's because they don't care that I have a tapped blocker, because they will just kill me next turn anyway. While I'm tapped out and my Faithless Looting on the stack, my opponent then decides to use the Nihil Spellbomb to exile my graveyard and draw a card. Now, the way I survive this turn is by sacrificing a mountain and then playing Lava Dart to kill one of the refurbished familiars, so my opponent only has 6 damage and can't kill me on their turn, without at least, having something. Now I just need to find a way to deal 25 damage with 3 mana and 1 blocker. Chain Lightning Phase, now it's only 22 damage. Now, I've thought all of this out. My opponent only has 6 damage on board, except I've forgotten what maps actually do. They're not just little artifacts to make cats cheaper and sacrifice to draw cards. You can use them to make a creature explore, revealing the top card of your deck. If it's not a land, you put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, and then you can do it again, thus putting 2/2 counters on the Withering Chrysalis. And then suddenly my opponent has 8 damage. Maybe they forget to... No. Okay. I have 1 out. I can sacrifice 2 mountains to play Fire Blast, killing the 2/1 flyer. That way I only go to 2 instead of dying. And I afford myself 1 last draw to win the game. I just need a 1 mana spell that deals 22 damage. Exciting. Let's see if I get it. No, my opponent plays Olympus. That's okay. That's okay. Here, Olympus, just give me my turn. I want to see my last draw. I untap. I draw. I realize I can win, and I concede. Good game. This is my first match loss of the day, and what I've learned is my deck can't always just throw everything at the opponent and win, which seems fair. It needs to have ways to be countered. And if I chose my hands better, and if I knew better when to go all in and when to look for more stuff, I think I could have won this match still. There was a lot of small mistakes that cost me some damage, and I definitely shouldn't have played Smash to smithereens in turn 2 in the second game. Either way, we just have to win the final game. How bad can it go? We can't face that much healing again. In the final round, you've gone around the room. You've identified what all the other players play. We were 17 people, so it's not that hard to figure it all out. One opponent was playing Familiar Combo, which is my worst matchup. In my opinion, I don't know, I'm not that smart. And not only that, it was an opponent who's very experienced with Pauper. Here we go. My hand is on the slower side, but I have lands, I have Goddess Snipe, I have Thermo Alchemist. My opponent has mulligan to 5, so I have a good feeling I can win this. Now, you're probably wondering why I think this is a bad matchup. My opponent plays God Pharaoh's Faithful. Whenever they play a blue spell, they gain 1 life. This is why I think it. And then they play a blue spell and gain 1 life. They played a Preordain, which scries 2 and then draws a card. It's a great spell for my opponent to gain a life and find what they need, especially when they mulligan to 5. However, they barely have any cards left in hand, so I'm not that terrified. I play my Thermo Alchemist, and then next turn I can play a Goddess Snap, and then whatever burn spells I've drawn will deal a lot of damage. Hopefully, they don't have enough cards to gain too much life off of their God Pharaoh's Chosen. God Pharaoh's Faithful. At least they only gain 1 life per spell, and they don't have a lot of cards. Oh shit, they played another one. And then they played a Snap, returning my creature to my hand and untapping 2 cards and gaining 2 life. So they've slowed me down a bit. I could just recast the Thermo Alchemist on my turn, and then it's set up to help me next, and it's countered. And the counter spell is blue, so my opponent gains 2 more life. What happened here was my opponent is very experienced in Pauper and plays very fast, so I need to slow down and play at my own tempo. I should not have played directly into that counter spell. And I do manage to tell myself to set the tempo of my own turns. My opponent played another Preordain and gained 2 more life. Last match, my opponent played a lot slower than the tempo I usually play at, but that's fine. But when someone starts playing faster than me, I am prone to start trying to match that tempo and making mistakes. But I'm gonna slow it down to my own tempo and play well. I play a Gutter Snipe, this time asking if there's a counter spell, and there's not. Okay, that's good. It wasn't just that I didn't play around the counter spell, it's that it didn't even occur to me there could be one. I play a Faithless Looting and trigger Gutter Snipe for 2 damage. I draw 2 cards and discard a land and a Sneaky Snagger, setting up to come back soon. My opponent may still have 25 life, but with a Gutter Snipe I can make up the difference. My opponent plays a Deep Analysis, drawing 2 cards and gaining 2 life. Deep Analysis also has Flashback, but it costs 3 life and 2 mana to use it. My opponent then plays the 3rd Preordain, gaining 2 life. This has been really good for Mulligan to 5, having nothing but draw spells and healing. That's the way you fight back against me. I really hope my opponent runs out of cards soon. This is getting tough. However, I have my own good cards. I play Grab the Prize. I discard a Lava Dart, trigger Gutter Snipe, deal 2 with Grab the Prize, draw 2, trigger Sneaky Snagger and get it back. I drew a Thermo Alchemist off of the Grab the Prize, so we play that so it can help whittle down this 25 health. Why is he still at 25? I'm going to put a counter here to keep track of how much life my opponent gains this game. Perfect. My opponent flashbacks Deep Analysis. It costs 3 life, but they gain 2 back from the God Pharaoh Faithful. My opponent plays Snap, gains 2 life, returns Gutter Snipe to my hand. I find that odd. Gutter Snipe does do more damage, but Thermo Alchemist takes longer to set back up to do damage when I cast spells. Then again, Gutter Snipe is setting me back an extra mana since it costs 3 and not 2. I play a land, pink for 1, then I attack for 2 with the Sneaky Snagger, putting my opponent at 23, oh my god. I played the Gutter Snipe. I know it could be countered, and it will be. My opponent gains another 2 life. Maybe I could play around the counter spells better, but I'm not entirely sure how I would, because it is need Gutter Snipe in play before I play my burn spells. Play Grab the Prize, discard a Lava Dart, because it has flashback. Have opponent remind me of my trigger. Deal 2. Draw 2. Use the Thermo Alchemist to deal 1. I've done 15 damage and our opponent is still above 20. My opponent untaps. This turn they will play Lorien Revealed to draw 3 cards and gain 2 more life. So between the Deep Analysis and drawing these 3 cards, I mean, it still matters they mult to 5, but they're definitely back in the card advantage game. The good thing is I haven't played any spells that are just like thrown away like a lightning bolt or such. It's all been draw spells or creatures. So I'm not out of the card advantage either yet. It's the 3rd God Pharaoh Faithful, oh no. The worst part is they have 4 toughness, so I can't kill them with lightning bolts. Otherwise I would. Alchemist pinks for 1. Then I try to cast another Gutter Snipe. I will need this if I'm going to win the game. And it does resolve, yes! I play another Alchemist. This means that all my spells deal an additional 4 damage, but all my opponent's spells heals an additional 3. Fairy attacks for 2, putting my opponent to 21. And we're still in it, I feel like. All our flashback spells still live. If they exile our graveyard or start presenting a threat, then we might be in trouble. Instead, they play another Snap, gaining 3 life, returning my Gutter Snipe to my hand again. Snap also untaps 2 of their lands, so it's really good tempo play. While it doesn't remove my threats permanently, it does allow them to do multiple things per turn, which will also make them get multiples of 3 life each turn right now. So they play at the Mutton Age. And guess what? They gain 3 life! The Mutton Age is a saga. On your first turn you draw a card and discard a card. You do it again on your next turn, and on the 3rd turn you exile it and return it to the battlefield as a 2/3 flying enchantment creature. It is my turn, and once again I will attack with my fairy. Then I will activate both of my alchemists, dealing 2 damage. I will play my Gutter Snipe again. I assume it will be countered, but I have no other spell to bait with. And they play Exclude. Get out of here, you dumb goblin! Exclude is a 3-mana counter spell that counters only creature spells but draws a card. My opponent gains 3 life! I'm tired of this sentence. I have no more Gutter Snipes or Alchemists to play, so I start slinging my Chain Lightning, untapping my guys, and pinging with them, dealing 5 damage. Then I play another Chain Lightning, triggering the guys, and bzzz. I finally got them below the 20 starting life, down to 16. And I think perhaps I can actually do 16 damage next turn. So if they just don't gain too much, there's still a way I can win this, especially with all the flashback spells in my graveyard that will trigger the Alchemist to do even more damage. I just can't cast the Lava Darts or the Fire Blasts I have. I don't want to sacrifice my lands before absolutely necessary. Opponent's turn. They play a Snap on my Alchemist. Pling! That's them gaining 3 life as they return my Thermo Alchemist to my hand. Now I have to recast it, and then I can't use it for the whole turn because it has Summoning Sickness. And then they cast it. The majestic Muldrifter! Muldrifter is a 2/2 flyer for 5 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 2 cards. It can also be played for its evoke cost for only 3 mana, but then you have to sacrifice it right away. My opponent wanted it as a creature on the battlefield, so they can block my fairy next turn. It's my turn. I attack with the fairy. Muldrifter blocks. They both die. Mine can come back if I draw 2 cards, which I'm gonna do with this Faithless Looting. Use Alchemist first. Then I draw 2 and discard 2. In my graveyard there's 1 Sneaky Snagger and I discard another. The one I discard do not see the cards being drawn with Faithless Looting, as those are drawn before I discard. So I only get 1 fairy back, even though there are 2 in my graveyard. And then we recast the Thermo Alchemist that was returned to their hand with Snap. That way we can deal a lot damage. A lot damage next turn, yes. Good sentence. Trigger Alchemist, and then use it to deal 1 damage. My opponent untaps and then transforms the Modern Age into a Vector Glider, which is a 2/3 flyer, so it blocks fairies even better than the Muldrifter. My opponent has gained a total of 32 life this game. Almost every card in our opponent's deck draws at least 1 card, meaning they will never run out of spells to gain life with. Oh, there's Seagate Oracle, pling! Seagate Oracle is a 1/3 for 3 mana that looks at the top 2 cards of your library, put 1 into your hand and 1 on the bottom. So it's even more draw. I wasn't as annoyed during the game as I'm pretending to be right now. I'm actually impressed with my own deck being able to at all keep up with this amount of damage. I didn't think it could do that. My opponent plays a Preordained, gaining another 3 life. Both my opponent and myself had a lot of fun with this game. It was a very odd game. My opponent is a combo deck, but hasn't found any combo pieces yet, and is just gaining life. There's the first combo piece. And another the Modern Age to gain 3 life. The combo piece is Sunscape Familiar, a white 2 mana creature that makes all your blue spells cost 1 less. And it's a 0/3 defender as well. So if they were playing a lot of spells and gaining a lot of life before, it's only gonna get worse now. I attack for 2. My opponent could forget to block, and I'm bringing back both Sneaky Snaggers anyway. But first I shoot for 2. Then I play Faithless Looting, drawing 2, discarding 2. Technically I've forgotten those 2 triggers on my Alchemist. I have to get better at doing this in the right order. I bring back the Sneaky Snaggers, and then I use my Alchemist. I don't know if a judge would actually say they were missed triggers when we're just playing this Friday Night Magic. I guess I would have to ask one of the judges I know. And then I want to resolve a Goddess Knight, and I finally get to. Please don't bounce it. Cast Chain Lightning, trigger Goddess Knight, trigger the 2 Alchemists, deal 3 with Chain Lightning, and then use the 2 Alchemists. That was 7 damage for 1 mana. We're still in this. Looking at this now, I have 2 Lava Darts. I could sacrifice a land for each of them. Each of those would deal 5 damage, and if I then had a Fire Blast in hand to sacrifice another 2 islands, I could deal 10 more, dealing actual 18 damage. I could have tried to go for the kill here. But if my opponent had 1 counter spell, I would have sacrificed all my lands and not killed them. It didn't even really occur to me. That's what's bothering me looking back at the video now. My opponent played a Sunscape Familiar and took care of the Modern Age triggers. My opponent plays an Archaeomancer. This is a 1/2 creature for 4 mana that lets you return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. My opponent picks Snap. Now that Snap is discounted by 1 mana, when you play it and untap 2 lands, you actually gain mana by playing it. They want to return their own Seagate Oracle to their hand. The Fire Blast that I should have tried to win with last turn I now use to kill that Seagate Oracle, sacrificing 2 of my mountains. That way I stop them from replaying it, gaining more life. And I trigger both my Goddess Knight and my Alchemists. My opponent's gained 50 lives over the game and I've done 50 damage. It truly is an equilibrium. I do 2 more damage. Put my opponent down to 18. Then I attack with both my fairies. One is blocked, dealing 2. I don't mind my fairies dying as long as they do damage. I can always bring them back very easily with a draw spell. I even cast this Faithless Rune from my graveyard, trigger Gutter Snipe, trigger both my alchemists, and then it bites me in the ass that I don't have those lands I sacrificed for the Fire Blast and the Seagate Oracle because I discard a Fiery Temper, and I can't play it for the Madness cost because I only have 3 lands. I do get my fairy back, and I also get another fairy into the graveyard, which is great. My opponent taps, flips the other Modern Age into a Vector Glider, and then passes the turn. My opponent's finally down to 12, and I have everything I need to kill them. I'm going to shoot them with my alchemists. Why is there no fire sound? Why is there no fire? Where's the fire sound? Oh no. My opponent plays Prismatic Strand. You pick a color, then you prevent all damage from that color until end of turn. It also has flashback. All you have to do is tap and untap white creature you control. And since I'm only playing red, none of my spells can do any damage this turn. So all I can really do is just pass the turn. If I had a Gutter Snipe, I would play it, but I don't. It's my opponent's turn, and they still have the Prismatic Strands in their graveyard. All they have to do is tap a white creature to cast it for its flashback cost. And I do have to make them cast it at some point too. This means they'll have another turn where I just can't really deal any damage to them. They play another Necromancer, bringing back a Preordain from their graveyard and gaining 2 life. 3 life! Then they play a Preordain, gain another 3 life. And this is probably when the game has slipped away from me. I should, if I knew better, consider this point. But I'm stubborn and I think I can go the distance still. So it's time to make the worst play of the game. My opponent wants to cast Ephemerate on a Chaomancer, which would excite and return it, and then they could return another spell from their graveyard to their hand. And I for some reason really want to stop this, so I don't just cast 1 Lava Dart. I instantly cast 2 Lava Darts, sacrificing 2 mountains, targeting their Chaomancer. My opponent generously tells me, what if we did this slower? So I do it again slower, saying, I cast the Lava Dart, I keep priority and cast the Lava Dart. This is a very bad play. It gives them the option of casting the Prismatic Spray from their graveyard by tapping a white creature. If I had played my Lava Darts one at a time, I would either have gotten a Gutter Snipe trigger and 2 Alchemist triggers, or gotten to keep a Lava Dart and a land that I could use on a later turn. Because I did it like this, I'm losing 2 lands and a bunch of triggers. Sigh. At this point, I've missed enough damage that with the 2 spells I have left, I probably can't finish it. And with Ephemerate being able to blink on a Chaomancer twice, that a Chaomancer can bring back both Ephemerate and another spell and gain a bunch of life. So this game is over at this point. I just want to keep going for 2 reasons. One, I want to see my opponent's win condition. I think it's a Ghostly Flicker, and I want to know how many of them they play and how deep it is in their deck. I'm assuming at this point they play 1 to 2, and I kind of want to know if it's 1 or 2, so I know how afraid to be of it. If I were smart, I would try to concede this game so I can win the next 2 matches and still win this. I'm speeding this forward now because it's just going to be my opponent gaining a whole bunch of life and me getting them to 11 once, and then finally them executing their combo to gain infinite life. The combo is to have 2 Sunscape Familiars, making all blue spells cost 2. And having an Chaomancer, then casting Ghostly Flicker, making an Island Exile and the Chaomancer Exile. They both come back untapped. Then the Chaomancer returns the Ghostly Flicker. And since you uptapped an island, you can keep casting it forever, each time triggering the God Pharaoh's Faithful to gain a life, thereby gaining all the life you could ever want. And then you beat your opponent to death with a 2/3 flyer. Over a lot of turns. My opponent ended up gaining 77 health in total, meaning I did 75 damage this game, which means I almost killed 2 commander players. I am impressed with my deck's ability to do damage outside of just bursting 20 down. In spite of my opponent's immense life gain, I do think I can win. My opponent has a Hydroblast, which is a 1-mana counterspell, but only for red spells. It can also just destroy a red permanent. Me, I've mulliganed to 6th, but I have both a Sneaky Snacker and a Grab the Prize, so I'm happy. My opponent had to play a tap land, and I get to play a turn 2 Thermal Alchemist. My opponent uses Ash Barrows to cycle for an island, so they have both white and blue mana for their second turn. I was praying my opponent didn't have the God Pharaoh's Faithful, but they do, and then they use that Hydroblast to destroy my little guy. And gain 1 life. I was kind of praying they wouldn't have the God Pharaoh's Faithful in their opening hand, but you can't have everything. I have another Alchemist, and so far they haven't made any card advantage, so that's okay so far. On their turn, they play a Snap, returning my Alchemist to my hand, and then untap their lands, and then they play the Modern Age, which does dig 1 card deep. They also gain 1 life for each of those cards. While I'm behind on board and I haven't burned any damage yet, I don't feel too bad. I can recast the Thermal Alchemist, and with my Grab the Prize in hand that discards the Sneaky Snacker, I'm gonna actually be ahead on value, because my opponent hasn't, again, played any preordains or anything to actually dig very deep, other than the Modern Age. I do need to hit a 3rd land here soon. My opponent's gonna play their 3rd land, and hopefully I can get 1 off of the Grab the Prize the next turn. Now, they play an Exile spell, I gain 4 life from it, and I lose my other Thermal Alchemist, which is really bad, so now I need to find another way to deal consistent damage, or just have enough burn to do 23 damage. I will play my Grab the Prize to deal the first 2, and I will also get the Fairy back right away with how Grab the Prize works, so now we have some sort of consistent damage, and I don't think they have any more snaps or exile, hopefully. I also find my land, and then I pass the turn. The Modern Age flips into a Vector Glider, which blocks my Fairy perfectly, so I do have to get rid of that. I don't mind so much having to trade a Bolt for it, because the Sneaky Snacker will make that damage back if it attacks twice. They play a Sunscape Familiar, making all the blue spells cheaper. Then I get to attack for 2 with my Fairy. And I did find my 4th land, so I can play this Goddess Snipe and hold 1 red open for my Pyroblast, which is counter a blue spell for 1 mana or destroy a blue permanent. My opponent wants to play a Muldrifter and draw 2, so I counter that. I don't want them to have any card advantage. They will win if they get that now. And my opponent uses their Hydroblast to kill my Goddess Snipe instead of countering it and getting the cards, which is a funny play because we both get what we want. I think my opponent knew I had a Pyroblast, so they baited me with the Muldrifter and then killed my Goddess Snipe after, so I couldn't counter their Hydroblast. But I'm actually happier to stop them from drawing. I cast a Highway Robbery, discard a Mountain, and draw 2. I don't have anything else to play, so I pass the turn. My opponent draws, and then passes the turn. They only have 1 card left in hand, which is great for me. Between all the draw spells I've played, I still have 4 cards in hand and an active Fairy to hit with. Boom! My opponent put in more counter spells and removals in their main deck after having sideboarded, and they drew all of them, but they haven't gotten to draw any cards, so they're just stuck on 1 card now, which means I still have a chance, even though they've answered all my threats. I just need a new threat. I mean, I still have the Sneaky Snacker, which has done 6 damage and will do 8 next turn. It's my opponent's turn. They play a tap land and return a land to their hand and doesn't play a spell, which means they either have bounce spells or counter spells. I don't really mind either because I'm getting ahead on the board right now, which is exactly what I want. Since I don't have a Goddess Snipe on Alchemist, I do want to use my Lightning Bolt to remove the Sunscape Familiar. I'm afraid it will enable them if they draw something to draw cards. I attack for 2. I do think killing the Sunscape Familiar was a misplay. Having that Lightning Bolt if I draw a Goddess Snipe would be great. It's also just 3 damage that I can get closer to killing faster with if they have no spells. My opponent gains 1 life from playing a Lorien Revealed, which draws 3 cards. I really wish I could counter this or do something about it, because this will put them back in the game if they draw something good. However, that was all their mana for this turn. Since I killed the Sunscape Familiar, they don't get to have an extra mana. I attack for 2, putting my opponent down to 12. Because they removed all my threats, I have to apply a new one. I don't have enough burn to kill them, especially after wasting that Lightning Bolt on a creature. I don't know if that was the right play. I don't think it was. They play another Sunscape Familiar to make their spells cheaper, and then another land that gives 2 mana and enters tap, but you have to bounce a land. So I know at least 2 of the cards in their hand should be lands, which is good for me. And then they play a Snap, returning my Thermal Alchemist to my hand. I don't mind that so much, because that's still just card disadvantage. It might be slowing me down, but they're also not getting ahead. I killed the Sunscape Familiar with a Lightning Bolt. That's 6 damage I've wasted that could have gone to face. Maybe I should have used both of them on the God Pharaoh's Faithful so they couldn't heal, because they also gain a life from the Snap. And now our opponents do what they don't want them to. They play a preordain and then also another preordain, gaining 1 life each time. But this makes their hand so much better as they gain so much card selection. I know they still have 1 land in hand, so they have 3 possible spells. They put 2 on the bottom for one of them, so they could have had bad draws. But still, their hand should be pretty stacked now. I try to play the Thermo Alchemist again, but it gets countered by another Hydroblast. And then I attack for 2. The good thing is by killing their Sunscape familiars now, there's a possibility they can't just cast all their cards all the time, so I am slowing them down by having done that now after they gained all this card advantage. So I'm not super upset about those plays anymore, even though I could have them down to 11 now, but since they've countered and removed all my Gutter Snipes and Thermos, it's unlikely I could kill them even if they were at 11 now. My opponent plays another Sunscape familiar. This would be their 3rd one, making all the blue spells cost 3 less. That would be very scary, so I'm not that upset. Like, this Archaeomancer would only have cost 2 mana if I left the others on the field. The Archaeomancer returns the Lauren reveal to their hand, which can draw them another 3 cards. So if they had had all the Sunscapes familiar, they could have for 3 mana gotten a creature, drawn 3, and then even play the spells from that. Now, they do have more cards than me now, which is really bad, but on the other hand, they can't play anything else this turn. Also, they gained a bunch of life from each of those blue spells. I'm gonna... oh my god, it's annoying. I assume my opponent finds equally annoying that this sneaky snacker here has done about, 10 damage on its own right about now. Then I play a Grab the Prize, discarding a Lava Dart, which is really good. That keeps me in the game of the card advantage we're playing with now. And the Lava Dart is really good because it has flashback. Also, I have another Sneaky Snack I can bring back, so now I'm representing 4 damage in the air and they have no blockers. And their spells are still kind of expensive thanks to all those dead Sunscape familiars. Though that is 9 wasted point of damage. I could have had them down to 6 now. But then again, maybe they would have gained a bunch of extra life from playing way more spells. Who knows? They do play a second Godfarer's Faithful now, so they gain 2 life per spell, but that could be worse. It's not more card advantage. Then they play the Modern Age, gaining 2, but that's also not the worst. The difference between the last game and this is they're fighting to get above, 15 and like a life total where I can threaten them, where before they were constantly me trying to press them down to 4. And that's another Godfarer's Faithful. At least it came after the blue spell. So I attack for 4, bring my opponent down to 10, and I feel like this is my last chance to kill them. If I don't get them now, they have 3 active Faithfuls, and they could draw cards, and I realize they only have 1 card in hand somehow, though. I play a Faithful Floating, drawing 2, discarding 2. I need to find the burn to kill them. There is a chance they just don't have anything in hand, though. It could just be a land, and if they draw nothing, it's great. It's their time. And this is everything. They draw and discard from the Modern Age. That's a land, that's great. What else do they play? A land? That's really good. Now they have 1 unknown card in their hand, and I don't want to draw. They pass! Amazing! I'm narrating how the game felt at this point. I attack for another 2, bring my opponent down to 6. And I don't think they have a way back now. I have enough cards and enough mana. I tap 5. I sacrifice 2 mountains to Fire Blast the face. That's 4 damage. I bring them down to 2. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm gonna play a Lava Dart from the graveyard to deal 1, bring you down to 1. And now is the moment. Can the other Lava Dart kill them? They counter the Lava Dart, and they gain 3 lives and go to 4. But I counter the counter. They still gain the life. They take the damage from the Lava Dart, going to 3. I play a mountain. They're at 3. And I pass the turn. This is intense. Whatever blue spell they play, they gain 3 life, and that could put them out of range of my no cards, and I sacrificed all my mountains. They flip the Modern Age into a 2/3 flying blocker, so they can survive at 1 if I attack. And I have to go for it. I learned last time, if I don't go for it, and the game goes long, I lose. I use my Pyroblast to kill the blocker, hoping they don't have a counter spell to gain life, and they don't. They just had more lands. And I win by attacking for 4 in the air. They drew a lot of lands, so that was really scary. But I'm glad I won. Now, the sad news is there won't be a game 3. My opponent was also the tournament organizer, and they had forgotten to start the timer for the round. And the store was closing, so they felt in the best interest of organizing the tournament, they had to concede the last game and tell everyone that there would be 5 minutes left to finish the games because, you know, the store was closing. Is this a sad way to win your final game? A little bit, I guess. But does it matter when you are the winner of the whole tournament? No, I'll take it. I'll wear that badge to the crown, to the ball. I love it. And that's how I won my tournament.